Hello, this is Connor with Unreal in a Nutshell, and this is our first tutorial of the series. Today we're going to jump right in and show you how to have two different interaction types for both first person and a third person camera system. Okay, so this is just a quick look at what it'll look like. So if I go up to these boxes, which are the interactables, and I hit E, you'll see in third person it just does a simple capsule trace, right? And displays a widget on screen. I can toggle that widget as shown, switch to first person. It does a simple trace from the camera, and it works from the camera perspective that way. All right, so the first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to create our interface. So to do that, I'm going to go ahead and go in my blueprints folder and interfaces folder that I've already created and create my interface in here instead of the third person template that we're working inside of. I'll go ahead and right click in here. I'll go to blueprint, go to blueprint interface. I'm going to call this VPI player interaction like so. I'll go ahead and open that up with enter. On our new function here that's already highlighted, I'm just going to call that interact. Add one input. I'm going to call it player. And that's going to be of an actor type. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and compile this and save this, and then that is our interface. All right, next we're going to want to open up our third person character. So we'll go ahead and open this guy up here, which is in content third person blueprints, right? Now in here, I'm going to create a simple input. We'll just do E key or something like that. We'll just pick any key and just remap it here by clicking that. And we'll put that there. Before we set up any input though, we do need to implement our interface here. So to do that, we'll go up in class settings. We're going to go down over here under the interfaces category to implemented interfaces. We'll go ahead and hit add, and we want to search for player interaction, and we'll go ahead and add that interface like so. And that's gone ahead and added that interface. Go ahead and compile and save. And then we're going to go ahead and set up our interaction now. So to do that, off of the pressed on the E, we're going to go ahead and do a branch. This will be for later when we set up the first person camera. If you do not want to set up the first person camera, you can skip this part and just do the first trace for the third person. We're going to go ahead and set this up anyways. For the condition, we're going to promote this to a variable, and we'll just call it FP camera active question mark, or whatever you want to do, however you do your booleans. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and from here, what we're going to want to do is off of the false, we'll do our third person trace first. So for the third person, we're going to do a simple capsule trace for objects. So we'll do capsule trace for objects. We're going to get actor location over here. I want to pull this over just a little bit. And then we're going to plug this directly into the start. For our end, we're going to want to drag off of a return value on the get actor location. We'll do a plus, add, and then we're going to go ahead and off of that multiply. So you can multiply, and then off of the first input, we're going to do get actor forward vector like so. And for the B input, we're going to go ahead and change that to a double precision float. So we'll go ahead and right click this node here. And we're going to, under pin conversions, click to float double precision. And then I'll go ahead and change that to a float like so. We're going to go ahead and hook this right up to the end. And that is the beginning of our trace. So under radius, we can set this to anything we like. For this example, we're going to go ahead and do about 20. And then for the half height, this is optional, but for a capsule trace, it's something we can do. So we'll go ahead and just get capsule component. Or actually, if you want, you can just click and drag it. It's probably a bit easier than searching it. Then we'll go ahead and get scaled capsule half height, like so. And we'll just plug that right into the half height. For the object types, we can go ahead and promote this to a variable. and we'll just leave it like so. Compile this so we can change it. For the object types, we'll go ahead and hit add, like the add element icon over here. And the element that we'll add, we'll just change this to world dynamics because that'll work for most triggers in our game. For the draw debug type, we're gonna change this to forward duration so we can view it within the editor. For the out hit on our capsule trace for objects, we're going to go ahead and drag off of that and do a break hit result. We'll go ahead and expand that for a minute. What we want to do is we want to check whether the actor that we hit implements our interactable interface. So we're going to do does implement interface. And the interface that we'll give it is player interaction. So basically any actor that we want to be able to pick up, we'll implement this interface, and we'll only call the interact function or event when they do implement that interface. So we'll go ahead and do a branch off of the return value of that. We'll hook that up in between this like so. And then for the last bit here, we're going to drag off of the hit actor once more, and we'll do interact. And I have two different interactions in here from earlier as I was showing someone else how to do this. So I kind of left it in here. But for ours, since I did BPI player interaction, I'm going to want to get the interact message. And for yours, you only have one, of course, and you'll want to get the one that says message. So if you did the interact function, just like I did, just make sure the one you select says message beside it, and you should be good. Go ahead and hook that up to the true, like so. And then for the player, we'll just do self. And that's pretty much it, right? As of now, we have our third person trace working. For the default on the FP camera active, just make sure this is false by default. If you want to have the third person be the default, of course, you just need to click on the Boolean value either here or in the variables list over here and make sure that that's toggled off by default. So go ahead and compile and save. And then we'll go ahead and do the pickup actor next. All right, now we'll go ahead and create the pickup actor. So to do that, we'll right click in our blueprints folder. I'm just going to create it directly in here. We'll do blueprint class, we'll do actor, and I'll call this BP pickup. And I'll go ahead and open that up. And then for this, all we're going to do is we're going to, under the components, we'll click add, and we'll add a box collision. We'll just type in collision and then box collision, and we'll call this trigger. For this, we'll leave all the collision settings default, and we'll just go ahead and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up the interface on this actor here. So to do that, again, we'll go to class settings, and then we'll go to implemented interfaces and hit add. We'll type in player interaction. Now we can go down here and we can type in, we can right click anywhere and type in event interact. And so this is going to be our interact event. So when we call it from the player, this is what's going to be fired on the pickup actor, right? For this, I'm going to do a simple flip-flop as an example. And all this is going to do is toggle a widget on and off the screen. Now, of course, you can set this up however you like, do whatever you want. But for this example, it's going to be stupid simple. So in the flip-flop, we're going to go ahead and create widget. I'm going to go ahead and create a widget that I've already created. We're not going to go into the widget creation in this tutorial because it's not directly related to the interaction system itself. It's just to show you that it's working, basically. So for this, I'm just going to go ahead and specify my class. If you have a widget that you'd like to display, you can go ahead and input that here. I'm going to go ahead and do BP example container. I guess I've done two types there. I'm going to go ahead and just get a reference to it. We'll just do example container ref. And then I'll go ahead and add it to the viewport, like so. And then off of the B on the flip-flop, all we're going to do is I'm going to drag back in my reference, actually, and I'm just going to do an isValid, check and see if it's currently a valid reference. On the B, And then if it is, we'll go ahead and remove it from the viewport like so. So we'll do remove from parent. We don't need to call any player specific functions on this, but we do have an input for this if we'd like to do certain things with that, right? So go ahead and hit save. And I'm going to go ahead and drag this in the level and we'll give it a go. One more thing, if you're testing this out and you don't currently have any meshes or anything on the pickup, to visualize this, we'll go ahead and just edit this again. We'll go back in it. And for the trigger, I'm actually just going to, I'm going to make it so that I can see the trigger box in the game. So I'll toggle off hidden in game just so I can see it currently and I know that I'm interacting with it, right? And you'll see there we're doing our trace, but looks like we don't have the offset. So let's take a look at that real quick. All right, so we haven't done any, we haven't input any value here on the multiplication float. So if you want to have an offset from the forward vector of your character in the third person, have the capsule kind of forward a little bit, you can input a value here. Or if you'd like, you can also promote it to a variable. I'm just going to put in about 50 for this example. And so you'll see now it's kind of doing it in front of the camera a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and go over to this. You'll see that when we walk up to it and toggle E, it is working. All right, now for this part, we're going to do a couple things. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back inside of the third person character. So we'll go inside of the third person blueprints and then VP third person character like so. You go ahead and close the pickup since we're done in there. And here we're going to go ahead and add a camera, a first person camera to the mesh. So to do that, we'll go ahead and go to the viewport real quick so we can see. We'll click the mesh, we'll click add, we'll type in camera, hit the first camera option, we'll type in FP camera for the name. And then for this, since we're doing a very, very simple true first person camera, we're just going to go ahead and on the parent socket, we'll attach it to the head. You'll see there it snaps to the head when we click it and we change that parent socket there. We'll go ahead and rotate this up a little bit like so. We'll do it the old school way. Rotate it around so that it's facing up like this. Then move it forward and then maybe up a bit if you'd like. I'm going to leave that for now how it is. As far as options go on the camera, the only thing we're going to change on here just for this instance is we're going to change use pawn control rotation. We're going to make that true. So we'll toggle that on like so, compile that. And then I guess the one other thing that we'll want to change, since we only want one camera activated by default, is on the auto activation. If you scroll all the way down the auto activate, you want to toggle that off under the activation category. Now for the first thing we're going to do is we're going to actually, before we set up the interaction, let's set up the camera view or the camera toggling. We'll just go ahead and copy this input here. I'm going to bind V to this. And then for this, we'll do a simple flip-flop here. And we're going to want to go ahead and get our FP camera and our follow camera like so, which is our third person camera. Now you can set this up a little bit more nicely, but just for this purpose, I'm going to do it a very, very simple way. And we're basically just going to toggle the cameras active. So we'll drag off of the FP camera and set active. By default, our first option, since we're starting with the third person camera being the default option, we're going to want to toggle the first person true by default. So we'll set the new active to true. And then for the follow camera, which is the third person camera, I'm going to just copy this here. We're going to go ahead and plug that in here and we're going to set this to false. We're going to drag off of this and do set controller, or yeah, controller rotation. Set use controller rotation, y'all. We're going to turn that to true. For our FP camera active boolean, we're going to drag that in, or you can type it and set that. And we're going to want to set this to true, like so. Now for this part, we're just going to basically do the opposite. So we're going to copy these two by doing, you can either do Control C and V, or you can just do, oh, my bad, I had the wrong key. We'll just copy that down there, like so. And then what we're going to do is we're going to plug this into the B on the flip-flop. For the first bit, we're going to plug in the FP camera again. This time we'll toggle it off. And then for the second bit here, we're going to drag the follow camera as a target, and we're going to set this to true. We'll just copy these two booleans here. And we're going to toggle this false, the use control rotation to false, and then the FP camera to false. And that is that. Now for the interaction part for the first person, all we're going to do is we're going to do a separate type of trace for the first person camera. So when we're in the first person view, we'll do a line trace straight from the camera instead of a capsule in front of the player. So off of the true on this branch up here, we're going to do a line trace for objects. That's what we're looking for. So for this, we're going to drag in our FP camera. We'll get the world location like so. This will be our start. Now for our end, we're going to go ahead and we're going to drag off the return value of our get world location for our camera. Do plus. Once again, off of this, we'll do a multiply. And just like we did with our third person, instead of using the forward vector of the actor like up here, we're going to get the forward vector of the camera. So we'll just do get forward vector and plug that into our first option here from our camera. And then for the B option, we'll go ahead and right click that and change the pin to a float, double precision. We'll give that a value of maybe about 250, something along those lines. You can change it to whatever you like. And then off of the addition, this is going to go straight into our end like so. For our object types, that's going to be the same. I'm just going to copy it and plug it in. For the draw debug type, I'm going to change that for duration, just so I can see what's going on. Again, if you don't want to have this on your screen, just be sure to change that to none, and then toggle it off. So off of the out hit on the trace, we're going to do pretty much exactly what we're doing above. So honestly, if you want to just copy and paste this, you can. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to copy and paste this like so. Off the out hit, plug that into the break hit result, which you can also collapse like that on both of these. And then off the execution, just plug that straight into the branch like so. And that's it. But we'll go ahead and compile and save. So now if we go in here, see here in our normal third person, we're doing the capsule trace. And if we switch to first person, we're doing our line trace from the camera. So if I go up to it, look at it, press E, we're doing a line trace from the camera now. If I go back, we're doing the capsule again. I hope this helped you and have a great day.